Hello, welcome back to Teen Titans Classics, in parentheses, Teen Titans Classics, the new Teen Titans era. Okay? This episode, we're going over issues 3 through 5 of the very series. Now, here's issue number 3, and yeah, they say Dr. Light is back. Now, Dr. Light did fight the Teen Titans in their previous incarnation, the one that lasted during the classic era of the Teen Titans. The issue the story is called The Fearsome Five. I'll explain what that is when we get up to it. The issue starts off with the Titans on a rooftop and Starfire pointing out exactly where her home planet is, Tamaranian. The planet itself has been destroyed several times over the years. It's just what DC writers come up with. And they talk for a little while, and then we cut over to this secret location with these two people. One is very sort of gigantic, the other one's very slim, and it turns out that these two people are in fact the brother and sister duo of Mammoth, his first ever appearance as far as I can tell, and let's see. They mentioned Hive. I'm trying to see if I can find. His real name is Byron. I'm trying to find where her name is. Let's see here. Well, they call her name is Slinda, but her code name is Shimmer, and they're joined by Dr. Light, Simon, Gizmo, and they form the Fearsome Five. Here's Dr. Light, Simon, Gizmo, and the two I introduced before. And their plan is simple. They want to destroy the new Teen Titans. Okay, fine. Now, here's something interesting though about all these characters. Now, aside from Dr. Light, the rest of the characters are brand spanking new. All the rest of the characters who appear in this very issue right here, this is all their very first appearance in the comics. Simon's power is that he has very strong telepathy. Gizmo is basically a guy who builds gadgets, and Slimmer and Mammoth are basically their special abilities that are very strong. Now, Dr. Light is a longtime DC supervillain who made his debut back in the 60s in issue 12 of Just Like America Volume 1. Yep. I should note that. And then we cut away to the Teen Titans, who are still on the rooftop, and then Starfire starts talking about the wildlife of Tamaran. He actually starts to have flashbacks to that. And she also has flashback simply of how her planet was before they were attacked by the Gordanians. And here, in their pretty much first appearance, these two right here, let's see if we can picture that. These two are Starfire's parents. The guy standing behind her, that's actually her brother. His name is not immediately revealed in this issue, but okay. Let's see. I don't think his name was revealed in this issue, but that little boy, that is her brother. And later on, he joins the group known as the Omega Men. When we get up to it, I'll explain who they are. She gets taken away into slavery by the Citadel. The Gordanians are kind of like their enforcers in a way. And then after they take Starfire, that's where the flashback ends. And they're still talking on the rooftop. And then Raven shows up, says there's been an emergency. And Dick says he wants answers. And Kid Flash cuts in. And of course, Wonder Girl stops Wally and Dick Grayson from fighting. By the way, a lot of the time when you see these issues, you hardly ever see Dick Grayson out of costume. A lot of time he's usually in costume. That's just the way he is. After they have a brief, after Wonder Girl talks down Kid Flash from fighting Robin, we cut away to the headquarters we cut away to the Fearsome Five, where they're just talking, discussing their plans in this very somewhat heavily dialogue page. Yeah, then we cut away to, and then all of a sudden, the Teen Titans show up, completely out of nowhere. And they start a fight with the group. Robin fights Gizmo, and of course everybody's gassed that for after they defeat Gizmo. Well, Gizmo's like, he runs away with the Fearsome Five, but they still come back, and then there's some flashing with Trigon. Yeah, Trigon. Yeah, he gets explained a little bit later. She talks to him a little while, and then we cut away to Victor Stone at his apartment, talking to his father, and they're still estranged. Yes. The reason? Because Silas Stone turned Victor Stone, turned his son into a cyborg. And then all of a sudden, after Silas Stone leaves, Victor sees a note, sees a letter left on his table in his apartment. And it says, Cyborg, you're cordially invited to the opening of Titan's Tower. Be there tomorrow at noon. Location map encoded. Okay, so at least 3 issues in, we finally see Titan's Tower. And a good looking a very good artwork by George Perez. And by the way, during this incarnation, this particular tower is used a lot. This is used as this base operations is destroyed twice over the years, but after the second time it's never rebuilt. After the first time it's destroyed, it is rebuilt, but after destroyed the second time, they never rebuilt the tower. Mainly because at the time, the way Marvel was writing it is that no one wants to rebuild it because we destroyed once before. Why rebuild it again? And we see Beast Boy's right first, and he takes a look around. It's actually a nice looking place. And then we have the Titans in their meeting, what would be their meeting room, and then Raven shows up again, and she says like, this place has no importance. We have a mission elsewhere. Even our foes prepare to strike. And Robin says, forget it, Raven. We're not going anywhere until we get some answers. I warned you before, Robin. Hands up. Raven says, hold it, Wallace. Richard is correct. I have given you little reason to trust me. Here then is the truth. So you will know why the world is impaired. And she talks about how she was trained in the Temple of Azarath. It's just showing the page there. And it shows a possible future where the Justice League is defeated by one of Trigon's demons. And the Justice League line at this point, the one they show in this picture, is just Batman, Hal Jordan, Green Lantern, Wonder Woman, Ray Palmer Adam, Zatanna, and Hawkman. And by the way, that's the original Kedar Hall in his Earth 1 continuity before the DC relaunch, and the first DC relaunch in 1986. And then she talks about the Fearsome Five. Well, even though they were not technically defeated just yet, the issue is not over yet. But yeah, and so they talk at their base operations, which is apparently inside of what looks like the side of a mountain, which that's nothing unusual for villains to make their bases out of. Heck, even superheroes made their bases out of mountains. Secret Sanctuary, the first headquarters of the Justice League, was inside of a mountain. Yep. And they all, and then we kind of give and then with this page we get the origin story of Simon, of how he got the way he is with his see-through skull. Apparently Trigon did that to him. Okay. And then he contacts the Titan telepathically, tells him and challenges him to a battle. He goes, okay, fine. So they go out and they fight him. What looks like a shipyard. Yep, they fight them in a shipyard, and this is still in New York City. And this fight goes on for several pages. Of course, there's one point where Simon takes hold of Wonder Girl, wraps her up in a lamp cord. Now, I think I know the reason why this is here. It's because Wonder Woman, shown frequently on covers, is always in bondage. Yep. George Perez just did a nod to Wonder Woman. So basically, Wonder Woman is not the only one, basically, where this is known to happen to her. Wonder Girl, same thing. She gets trapped in bondage as well. And of course, Titans are pretty much almost knocked out, except for Robin. And then Mammoth knocks him out. And all the Titans are there all Titans are knocked out except for Starfire, Raven, and Kid Flash. And they all race over there and they beat up the Fearsome Five. And somehow pretty much just a second. Sorry about that. I ain't the end of the day out there. Yeah. Anyways, my phone just had the ring. And even though that pretty much most of the Titans are in fact defeated, Raven's like, I haven't any interest now, even though they once scorned me. I once again must visit the orbiting satellite headquarters of the Justice League of America. And that's where issue 3 ends. It's a good issue. Nice introduction to the Fearsome Five. Great the fact that Marvel Hope and George Perez had to bring back Dr. Light. And I give the issue a 9 out of 10. It's a great issue. Then, of course, we have issue number 4, where the Justice League of America shows up. And the lineup is pretty much the same as I saw it, as was seen in the previous issue. It's the same exact lineup. No Superman. And this is the early 80s, so no Elongated Man for some reason. Yeah, for some reason the rest of the Justice League is absent. But that's nothing unusual with Justice League, because at times certain members would just skip issues for no explained reason. Like, if you look up basically on DC Wiki page for certain characters who appeared in this particular volume for Justice League America, characters would skip issues for several issues on end. Batman, of course, will appear for a good period of time of those issues, but a lot of the time these characters would just skip issues for no explained reason. It just basically whoever's able on call for these issues. That's simply how Justice League America works. Well, that's how the first volume will work anyways. The rest of the time, simply, they kind of fix that problem years later. And the characters do pretty much appear for pretty much all the issues of the series. So we open up with a prelude with the Justice League at their orbiting satellite being summoned. Then they all come there, and apparently they're on some plane when attacked by this group of guys with white beards, and they sort of put a mouth guard over Satana is known for basically saying her spells, the words for her spells, backwards. So we yeah, the beginning part of this issue was not that interesting, not at all. And of course, Raven finally contacts him, and he immediately recognizes her, despite the fact that their meeting happened off panel the first time they actually met. And then we cut away to Raven. Looks like well, she take the Justice League there. Oh, this is Temple Azrath. I had to look for it. Yeah, it's in Temple Azrath. Drawn beautifully by George Perez. Where she actually goes, not just like America. And we actually get the first sort of introduction to her mother. Arilla, I think her name is. Yes, Arilla. This is her right here in this panel right here. This panel right here is the first time we ever see it, and we turn around. That's who she is. So basically, we get in our introduction. Basically, we get introduction to Raven's mother. Oh, one thing I should note: the round tummy thing is finally George Perez. I think some people probably noticed that he was drawing looked like Raven. She was like chubby or she was pregnant. I guess he finally stopped drawing her that way. So whenever they saw her, that round tummy thing finally was dropped. So it looks like that thing was stopped. I bring this up because if you know some comics that came out in the early 80s, where certain people who were certain women supposed to be gorgeous, and they had these round tummies for no explained reason. Apparently that was an artist's fetish that happened in 1980. I don't know why. Wonder Woman's never drawn like that. No, just that some women are drawn like that, but not every single one. Usually it's the one in the skin tight costumes. Yeah, and of course, Raven has a conversation with her mother, and of course she's heading back to, I think it's supposed to be Titan's Tower. And apparently no one remembers them being taken by the Fearsome Five. Apparently the Fearsome Five erased their memories. Somehow. Yeah, and turns out it's done by Simon. Yep, Simon. Simon basically kind of does a coup d'etat over Dr. Light. Even though Dr. Light formed this team, Simon takes it over. I don't know why. The whole point of the Fearsome Five is kind of like, let's see. Oh yes, it's probably supposed to be the Teen Titans version of the Secret Side of supervillains, because certain superhero groups did tendency to fight a group of supervillains. I mean, the X-Men were known for doing this. The Avengers definitely. I know Spider-Man and Batman have done this respectively, where they fought a group of villains. So I think that the reason why that George Perez and Marv Wolfman created the Fearsome Five is because that was the trend at the time. As a matter of fact, that's still the trend today. So we have some talking, lots of talking, and we see sort of a flashback of kind of like when she gives an explanation of why the Titans first formed, and we get kind of the first appearance of Trigon himself. That's him right there on this very page. I'm pointing to it. And she talks for a little while, and we cut away apparently from a camera which was placed there for some reason. I'm not sure who placed it there. Maybe it's Silas Stone. I think it might be Silas Stone because he's inside the Titan's Tower. And it cuts away to the Justice League satellite, which, here's the odd thing though. Anytime any comic cuts away to this virtual satellite, it has to say Meanwhile, 22,300 miles straight up in space, because that's how much far away it is from the Earth. The Justice League are talking, and it says that you have visitors coming up, and it's Robin, Wonder Girl, and Kid Flash. And they mentioned that they thought Teen Titans had disbanded. So the Teen Titans simply just attack the Justice League for some reason. All Teen Titans come off, and they have a hero versus hero fight. Yep. Yeah, so they have a hero versus hero fight. Well, the reason is because they're all brainwashed by Simon. That's the only reason I can think of. So I think Adam kind of frees Wonder Girl. But Raven's the only one who's not under the control. Yeah, he says they're under control, being forced to slay you. And it tells them Justice League must die. And they sort of a mass hallucination. Or apparently the Justice League apparently die. And it turns out that it was all an illusion. Similar to one Grant Morrison was similar to one that Grant Morrison was let them see in issue 2. And they said, "Oh, she's disappearing again." But let her give her time. And of course, that she somehow transports them to this place where the Justice League America was, and then all of a sudden, Justice League America just shows up and says, "Oh, we must try first." And yeah, it's a very odd issue. There's some more fighting between the Teen Titans. Then it turns into more fighting between Teen Titans and Justice League, and of course, everybody's all called to stop. And it turns out the reason why Justice League turned down Santana's call for help was because not Santana, Raven's call for help was because Santana had detected some evil in her. Yes, that's the reason why, because she detected evil essence in her. And the issue ends with basically her revealing that apparently where Wally reveals that she's the reason why they brought back together, and says, Santana says her. Weeks ago, she appeared before they just tell us the same story. I used my magic checker and discovered there's a couple of evil in her. Just no, it's evil is in my heritage, not in me. And apparently, the issue ends with basically the Teen Titans sort of abandoning her, and that's where that issue ends. Now, before I continue with the next issue, issue 4 is kind of a weak issue in a way. I mean, you have some stuff with the Fearsome 5, you have a hero versus hero fight, which is nothing unusual for comics to do. But if you read it, you're going to get kind of bored really quickly because there's a lot of exposition in this issue. The only thing I can give a highlight for this issue is the fact that the issue was drawn by George Perez. So I give New Teen Titans number 4 a 8.5 out of 10. Got kind of bored reading it. And Raven's still trying to Trigon lives. And she, of course, when Demon tries to stop her, and of course, they have no reason to exist, and this is, they have no reason to exist, and Wally said that she made him fall in love with her, stuff like that. Rand finally comes to him and says, "This world is being invaded, please, you gotta believe me." And Kid Flash, "Get out of here, we wouldn't even lies." Says, "This is not a lie, Wallace. The reason I formed the Teen Titans were never a lie." And he says, "I don't want to hear it anymore. Go. No, you don't know where you're not wanted. This is no place for me to go. My true form fights for its life while I plead with you to fight the life of the world." And Wonder Girl's like, "Raven's in trouble?" And Robin's like, "Batman will probably call me crazy despite all the facts. I'm going my hunch Raven's telling the truth." Cyborg's, I'm staying here. No one, and Robin's like, no one owns you, Vic. Do what you want, but I'm going. And most of the Teen Titans do go, except for Kid Flash and Cyborg to help Raven. And of course, we see a shadowy figure just wandering around Titan's Tower. It's Silas Stone. Basically, anybody who can tell, it's a bit of mystery, but it's a mystery only to the characters only. But anybody who reads this nowadays can tell that is Silas Stone. But of course, this is not revealed to issue 7. And of course, then the Titans go and fight one of Trigon's demons. This lasts for a few pages. Then they finally see Raven's father, Trigon, in this wonderful splash page by George Perez. Yes, this is a first full page appearance of Trigon, and he's freaking huge. He's even taller than he's taller than Raven. And then for some reason, Simon shows up. Apparently, Simon's been working with him all along, and he kills Simon. I think he sends him back to Earth, and then he kills the demon who failed him. And then they all get sent back to Titan's Tower. Or even really normal. And of course, Jesse's an implant, and she explains what happened. This particular panel, this is before she went to Robin. Yep. And then she explains what she formed the Titans. And she says that and Robin asked almost one of the most obvious questions. Hold it. I'll buy everything except why me? All the others have powers. I only got some hyperbaric skill. And Raven says, I do not need separate individuals, Richard. I needed a team. Within you is the capacity to be a leader, to make us work as one. That is why I appeared before you first. That is why I had you seek out the others. We should have had months to prepare, months to learn how to work together, but Trigon has already come. More than ever, now that I need you beside me, and I now need you, Richard, to carry on as leader, for unless we work together as a team, we are all doomed. And of course, there's an alarm, and alarm goes off, and of course they go outside, start fighting. And of course, you have some obvious hints of Raven's attraction, not Raven, Starfire's attraction to Robin, which does not get sort of resolved until issue 25. And of course, all the Teen Titans go out and they fight Trigon. And this fight lasts for several pages. Yep. Several pages of fighting with Trigon. And they call him back. And of course, Raven goes to Azeroth to explain the situation. Says, and of course, Raven just speaks to her mother for a bit. Then she goes back and Arella tells her basically, it really helps her kind of defeat Trigon for now. And of course, Trigon just goes one place and we see more fighting with Trigon. And apparently most of the times are defeated except for Robin and Raven. And he just says glad to sacrifice himself. And Raven kind of goes away. And Kid Flash is upset. And that's that for the issue. I'll talk more about Trigon when I get a chance to talk about the last 3 issues in this particular trade. Issue 5 is a much better issue than issue number 4 because it kind of felt like a standstill of an issue. Not much was accomplished with issue number 4. Just a lot of hero versus hero fighting. This issue had the Titans fight Trigon for the first time ever. And you also get a chance to see a little bit more of Titan's Tower. And you actually have the Titans sort of forgiving Raven for lying to them of why she manipulated the whole thing in the first place. Kind of similar to Doctor Strange formed the Defenders back in the 70s. But otherwise, though, this was one awesome issue. Here's some more. I want to show a little more of the artwork before I go. Yes. just so everybody has a good grasp exactly what to expect if they ever wanted to read this issue. George Perez does a fantastic job drawing this book. Now he also does some writing as well. Now as far as he doesn't co-write every single issue, but he does co-write a good chunk of these issues. But that's the way. And I give issue 5 a 9.25 out of 10. Awesome. Alright, stay tuned for the next episode whenever I get a chance to do it. I know it's been about a couple weeks since I did the last episode, but I think it was well worth to see sort of like introduction to Fearsome 5 and the start of the Trigon arc. And you also get a chance to see sort of an origin story of Raven in issue 5. You get kind of an origin story for her, but still awesome issues. Issue 4 is, of the first 5 issues, issue 4 is obviously the weakest of the first 5 issues. Anybody can tell that by reading it, but it's only weak in the form of the writing, because there's a ton of dialogue in issue 4. A lot of dialogue. It's not a terrible issue, it's just kind of a weak issue in a way. But that's it for this episode. Stay tuned for. But that's all I can tell for this one for right now. But stay tuned for the next episode, which should be episode number 4, and I'm going over issues 6 through 8. Till then, see you there. Bye.